So on this video, I wanted to touch on a couple of topics. But they are mainly centered around white inferiority and white privilege, which are two totally different things. Um, what I call white inferiority, the majority call white supremacy. As I stated in an earlier video, I refuse to believe that anything that is immune to the same sun that powers me is supreme. So I will not call them that because they are inferior beings. I saw a post on Facebook that said, what would the world look like without black people? And it would be colorless. Would there even be a world without black people? Because they all derived from us. They are not supreme. Everything that they do to bring down and destroy everything that is not of white people shows you that they are inferior. They choose the path of destruction mainly through genocide to control where they stand as a people. That's their population control, genocide. Because without it, they're the minority on the planet. Black people are the majority. How the fuck have we put this in this, put them in this supreme placement? How the fuck were they placed on this pedestal? So what brought this up, to mind was I watched a video not too long ago where this lady went to court and she had a horrible year. And I mean, I understand it happens. Believe me, I know it happens. Every year the laws come and kidnap my husband and hold him for ransom. So believe me, I know what it's like to have a horrible year and have to start over and have to deal with all kind of setbacks. But this particular lady was in court and she was about to go to jail. She had these warrants out and all she had to do was pay this money and and get these tickets taken care of. And so the judge is asking her all of these questions. Excuse the background, y'all, I'm at the park. These kids don't like to leave the park. But the judge is asking her all of these questions to find out exactly what's going on with her and why she's racking up all these tickets and this and that. And so she gave him this long sob story. And long story short, she had a son that had passed away, and the son that passed away owed the state some money, and she was getting some type of money from disability or something, but they ended up taking out of her money, and she was having to go to court to get all of this money stuff situated. And she kept getting these parking tickets because the meters didn't work, or she was in court too long, and so she kept getting all these parking tickets. And all in the midst of this, she goes to eviction court and they're evicting her and she has to move. And so now she doesn't have the money to pay the tickets because she had to move, and she's still paying funeral costs for her son. Whoop-de-woo, blah-de-blah. And I mean, I'm not saying whoop-de-woo, blah-de-blah to in any way, downplay what she's going through. Like I said, it's life. Shit happens. All right. So when it was all said and done, the judge asked her, he was like, okay, well, what can you afford? He was like, can you afford to pay $50? He was like, if you can afford to pay $50 today, that'll get rid of all your tickets. You're in the clear. So she was like, yeah, I can pay you that right now. He was like, will that leave you penniless? Will that leave you broke if You pay this $50. She said, that's going to leave me with $5 to my name. So the judge was like, I'm not going to leave you with $5 to your name. I'm going to throw all of these tickets out. Now, I've been to eviction court. I have been to custody hearings. I have been to child support court. Not for myself, because they just chose to just take my money. But with my husband. And not just us, but a lot of these men in there have a story. You know what I mean? You're locking them up if they miss a court date or miss a payment, and then they get out and they're having to start over. I got to find a job again, and then after I find a job, I got to get myself situated, because I don't know where the fuck y'all are expecting all these men to stay. So they got to get themselves on their feet. They've got rent to pay. Keep in mind, just, you know, a lot of this child support fuckery is behind bitter bitches who are mad that niggas don't want to fuck with them no more. So these bitches take they sorry asses down to court and fall on child support instead of just asking a lot of these men for money, because period, point blank, a lot of them, if you just asked them for what you needed, they'd be more than willing to give it to you. But the problem is, a lot of these hoes don't want money, or don't want what they need. You can tell them that, you know, they'll tell you that the money is for clothes, or the money is for food, or the money is for something that they got going on in school. But when you offer to just go to the school and pay for whatever it is, or when you just show up with clothes, or when you just show up with food, it's a fucking problem. All right, so that lets you know right there, it's not anything about the child. It's about whatever thing that they've got going on with you. All right, so that's where the child support shit comes from. So these men miss a court date, miss a payment, they're not with these bitches anymore. They've got other families that they're providing for. A lot of these men have moved on, are in relationships, have other children, and you are removing them from that household to lock them up for 3 to 6 months at a time, and then they're getting out and they're starting over. In that time that they were in there, they've racked up more back or arrears. They have to pay these lawyers and, you know, y'all's child advocacy or whatever the fuck people, and attorneys, court costs. All of this shit is constantly racking up every time that y'all lock these men up. What sense does that make? So there are a lot of people that are in situations, just like this lady was dealing with. You know, look at Houston. Houston just flooded. A lot of those communities that flooded, on the 3rd, like clockwork, there were eviction notices on these people's doors. People that have lost every fucking thing, that have nowhere to go, nowhere to turn, are getting eviction notices. You don't think they need a break? But this lady that gave this story to this judge just happened to be white. So not to say that there aren't white people that are down and out. You know, there's plenty of white trailer parks full of them. But just because they're down and out, they still have that privilege in their corner. Had that lady been black, that judge would not have given a fuck. That lady would not have walked out of there without having to pay a dime. But this lady that cried to this judge, who just happened to be black, walked out of there without having to pay a dime because she had a rough year. I'd love to tell y'all about the last 6 years I've had. Every last one of the last 6 years involves my husband at some point being arrested. And not just arrested in any manner. And we're talking about child support here. We're not talking about aggravated robbery, aggravated assault, murder, none of that shit. We're talking about child support. We're talking about a missed court date or a missed payment. and they show up, guns drawn, and take him away in front of our son. We've had some rough years. We've had to start over quite a few times. Did anybody hear me out in eviction court? Did they hear me out in court when I went to address the 3 tickets that I got in my driveway for no license, no insurance, and no registration? And I was on my way back from the food stamp office attempting to provide a way to, or attempt to bring some food into my household. Other than that, that car did not move. I drove it to an appointment that I needed to get to provide for the children in my household. When I pulled back into my neighborhood, they saw me. I got to my driveway, parked the car, pulled the keys out, and was on my way into the house when 4 police officers pulled in behind me and told me if I did not get back to the car, I would be arrested. I received a ticket for no license, for no insurance, and no registration. In my driveway. When I went to plead my case on these tickets and let them know why I was driving in the first place, where I was on my way back from, do you think they heard me out? I have warrants for all of those tickets right now. So there is a such thing as white privilege. Even the poor whites can use their privilege to their advantage. I see it all the time. Go downtown. Downtown Dallas. And on all of these different corners in downtown Dallas, you've got these homeless people standing out here on various corners asking for change. The white ones clean the fuck up. The black ones, people roll their windows up. That's white privilege. They're going to do the same thing with the money. Go buy a beer and some crack. But because it's a white guy, people are more likely to open their hand or their wallets for him. So white privilege is real. White supremacy, not. They are not supreme beings. They are inferior beings. Always have been. Why do you think they knock the noses off of all of the statues? To hide the identity. Why do you think that they bleached and changed the color of the hieroglyphics on the walls in the tombs of the pyramids in Egypt? To hide the identity. Why do you think one of the first things that they did when they kidnapped us from Africa was strip us of our language, our religion, and who the fuck we are? We don't even have a nationality. Because they knew if we figured out who we were, there would be hell to pay. And they wouldn't have the same footing that they do now. So I want my people to wake up and realize what's being done, like blatantly, right in front of your faces. The show Empire was their way of demonizing and demoralizing the black family. Not one single black male on that show has a positive role. We got a faggot. We got a sellout. We got a crazy. And we got a father that would do anything, including kill his own wife and children, for power and money. How is that a positive image for black people? Because they gave them a show and a paycheck? After Oscar So White, then it was all the black people got a nomination and got an award, and everybody was just so happy to be thrown a bone. When are we going to wake up and see what's being done blatantly right in our faces? We are not the demons in this situation. They are. And until you realize that, nothing will change. So it's time to wake up.